And then you also mentioned Sasquatch, which I believe they also are referred to as Bigfoot, correct?
Yes.
And I have heard of these interdimensional beings, and some people believe in them. There's so many sightings, and then other people are just like, no, that's a man in some sort of make believe gorilla suit. And what I thought was interesting about your story while I was doing research for this conversation was that you received a video of a talking Sasquatch that really shifted everything within you. Can you talk about that? Because I think that's a very
Sure.
important part of your story.
Thank you. Yes, I can talk about that. I live in the Pacific Northwest of America slash lower part of BC, where we're steeped in Sasquatch lore here. It's part of the culture. It's on mugs, it's on t-shirts, it's on the back. People call their businesses after Sasquatch here. So it's not something no one ever really thinks about, but they don't really think about it. Is it real? And actually, not down the road that far is Harrison Hot Springs, BC, where the phrase Sasquatch was coined. There's a whole museum there and everything. So they're everywhere here. So I'm doing crop circle research at the time. I'm actually, maybe I hadn't been doing it for a little while by the time I heard this because they slowed down around here. We didn't get that many anymore. And my friend Nancy Talbot, who was the coordinator head of BLT research, and I just want to say BLT research is no longer functioning. You can still look it up online, it's there. That stands for Burke, Levengood, and Talbot. So John Burke, Dr. Levengood, who was a scientist who did all the scientific, basically they did pretty much most of the scientific research for crop circles worldwide. So people would send them their samples, etc. And then Nancy Talbot, who was, she'd been a medical researcher and she was the one heading up basically the research and having people traveling, having people find things in crop circles, etc. So she had sent me, we became good friends, and she had sent me this video of a Sasquatch talking. And it was like that same feeling as when I got into this situation with the fairy portal, that feeling started to come up. And I learned that this is something to take notice of. And I just couldn't get it out of my mind after that. And this often happens with people with Sasquatch experiences. They'll have something like that happen. And they could just hear about it from someone, they could read it in a book, and something, the switch turns on. And now it's like, how am I going to get into the mountains? Who am I going to go with? How am I going to find these beings? So, what happened after that was I've been walking around this wetlands I was talking about for about 20 years. And in the meantime, I'd been reading a lot of books on Sasquatch. And I realized that they made structures and left glyphs out of wood and sticks and rocks and things on the ground. So I'm walking around these wetlands and all of a sudden I see a structure and I walk past it. It's what? I've been walking here for 20 years and I've seen nothing. And someone had asked me, do you think they were there before and you didn't see them? And I said, no, because I'd done crop circle research in that particular wetlands because they occurred almost yearly for a long time there. And I know pretty much every inch of that place. So I'm pretty alert to what's going on around me for that reason. And there'd never been anything like this there before. So I knew they were there. And it's like, how can this be? I'm so close to civilization. But they're everywhere. They're in the green spaces, they're in all our parks. Yeah, they're pretty prevalent all over the world, actually.
What did it sound like? Did it sound like a human being? Was it speaking English? I'm very curious.
It was speaking English, but it was very, you imagine a chest that's the size of, I don't know what, your oven. And the depth of the vibration that comes from that, that alone is wow. But no, it was saying someone's name in English. And it was talking about how they were friends and that sort of thing. And it was very, I would say it wasn't like fluent or flowing. It was a bit stilted. But yeah, he was telling this person how much he loved him. And it was just, wow, this is incredible. This is happening. And I just couldn't get it out of my mind.
Did he know he was being recorded? Did the Sasquatch know that they were being recorded, or was this kind of done, because I'm asking because I wonder, because again, what I've heard about these beings is that they like to stay out of sight from human beings, and they can go from one dimension to the next. They can go in and out of different realms, and people still end up sighting them, but they usually try to hide away from humans. So I'm just curious to know, how was it possible to have that full recording?
This person's had a long time relationship with this particular Sasquatch, really
Mm,
well cultivated over, oh, I'm not even sure how many years, 12 years, roughly. I'm just going to say roughly because I don't know exactly for sure. But they'd had other recordings of the Sasquatch making sounds before this one. So I started looking into all kinds of different things about Sasquatch after that. And I'm going to just say something about multidimensional relationships with beings in general, and this includes fairies, that they can read you. They can read your intent, they can read your energy field. They know what happened to you, they know what's happened to you ever. So they know you just by your energy signature. And they're going to be very selective about who they give what to and when. So nothing is by accident.
okay.
They're very
Intentional.
meticulous, intentional about how they interact with people.